All right, I want to thank everybody for being here. We will call the meeting to order and announce that there is a quorum present. At this time, if you join me for a word of prayer. Our dear Heavenly Father, God, we thank you so much for this beautiful day that you've given us and every day that you give us as a gift. Lord, we thank you so much for everything that we have, and we ask, Lord, that if it be in your will, we get some rain. That's always needed here in Texas, and we appreciate that, Lord. Lord, I thank you so much for our citizens that are here tonight with us. Lord, I pray that you will help us as council do and say things that will help our community, help guide us, Lord. And Lord, thank you for our men and women serving overseas that provide us the freedoms to be able to gather here tonight, Lord. Lord, I thank you mostly for your Son, Christ Jesus, who died for each and every one of us. And it's in his holy name I pray. Amen. If y'all would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. All right, thank you all. Be seated. Oh, dang, I forgot to do the gavel. Call it to order. That's a new thing there. We're not used to doing that. So, next up, we'll move into council announcements. This is an opportunity for council to share with each other and with our citizens anything that they have on their minds or hearts that they'd like to share. Council, have anybody? Anybody have anything? No? All right. Seeing no council announcements, I will close that and move to public comments. This is an opportunity for you, the public. Y'all can please don't gather all at once, but individually, if you'd like to come up to the podium, announce your name, your address for the record, and then you can speak up to 3 minutes on almost anything you want. No personal attacks on employees or anything like that, but pretty much anything else you'd like to talk about, we're open to hear. Council cannot give comment or response to this in the public section, but you are welcome to speak your mind. Okay, seeing no public comments, I will close that. We'll move on to the consent agenda. 6.1 is to consider and act upon approving the minutes from the regular meeting of May 10th, 2022 as printed. Council's had an opportunity to look over those minutes. If they want nothing pulled off of there and there's nothing to discuss, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Cobbin, seconded by Councilman Martin to approve the minutes. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to 7.1. I have to go back and double check. Moving on to 7.1. This is TML Health presentation for 5 years of service with TML Health benefits. Is that for you? All right, Ms. Thornton.
I'm going to just let Heather take over.
Oh my gosh, Ms. Heather, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are y'all? Good evening. Well, my name's Heather Von Gonten. I am the city's account executive with TML Health, and I'm here today to share an exciting award with the city. So, City of Clyde, today we wish to recognize you for 5 years of longevity between your city and TML Health. We truly can't thank you enough for your partnership and opportunity that you've allowed us to serve the front lines of Texas. Your partnership has allowed us to make the most of our mission. Thank you for your continued support and your commitment. Without further ado, we award you with TML Health's 5-year longevity award. So I have.
Oh, that's very nice.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then I'll. That's very nice. Oh my gosh, that's
Yes.
great. Why don't, Nan, do you want to get a picture?
Yes, I will.
All right, we'll step over here
Okay.
and we'll allow you to do that. And then we'll get Nan to send it to you.
All right, perfect.
Hold on, I'm sorry, my phone died. I had to restart. You know how that works.
You don't mind?
Here now.
Thank you. I'll send it to myself. Wait, I'm not getting anything on yours.
Did you break my phone?
I broke your phone.
I was trying to see.
There we go. All right, y'all smile like you like it. Oop, there it is. You, Paul, take the picture. Obviously, I don't know how to work your phone. Okay, I'm up. Sometimes it doesn't like this internet. Okay, now let's get y'all in focus, maybe. Y'all, I was a blonde for a long time. Okay.
Thank you so much, we appreciate
Thank you, Heather. I'll get back with you.
Okay, sounds wonderful. Here's just a little.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Moving on to 8.0, this is a proclamation of April as Fair Housing Month. Whereas Title 8 of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 as amended prohibits discrimination in housing and declares it a national policy to provide within constitutional limits for fair housing in the United States, and whereas the principle of fair housing is not only national law and national policy, but a fundamental human concept and entitlement for all Americans, and whereas the National Fair Housing Law during the month of April provides an opportunity for all Americans to recognize that complete success in the goal of equal housing opportunity can only be accomplished with the help and cooperation of all Americans. Now therefore, we, the City Council of the City of Clyde, do proclaim April as Fair Housing Month in the City of Clyde, and do hereby urge all citizens of this locality to become aware of and support the Fair Housing Law, passed and adopted by the City of Clyde, Callahan County, State of Texas on this day, 2022. Approved by the mayor, and I'll sign your copy after we get done. All right, there's nothing further on that right there, so we will move on to 9.0. This is our regular agenda. 9.1 is to consider with possible action adopting a resolution by the City Council of City of Clyde designating authorized signatories for contractual documents and documents for requesting funds pertaining to the Texas Community Development Block Grant Program, TXCDBG Grant Agreement Number CDV 21-0076. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, City Council, citizens, we were recently awarded the Community Development Block Grant to do the water and sewer infrastructure. And this is the administrative requirements as part of the grant program, that we do the resolution designating signature authorities. And there's also, the next action will fall under the same, it's part of the administrative requirements. It's the civil rights resolution.
9.2, consider with
9.2.
possible action adopting a resolution regarding civil rights as part of the Texas CDBG grant.
And then there's an additional requirement as part of the Community Development Block Grant that we adopt an excessive force policy.
Saw that.
So, and this all brings us in line, and we'll release the funding, the $350,000 in funding to do the water and sewer lines.
Do we need
That's what I was looking at.
motions on both of those? And second?
Yes.
All right, does council have any question concerning 9.1 or 9.2? Then, in the matter of 9.1, I would entertain a motion to adopt, adopt the resolution that we were just discussing, authorize the signatories. I have a motion by Councilman Rector, seconded by Councilman White to approve the signatories for the Texas Block Grant. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. 9.2, I would entertain a motion to adopt the resolution regarding the civil rights required by the CDBG policy.
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman McGuire to adopt the resolution regarding civil rights required policy. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you all. Moving on to 9.3, consider with possible action approving a resolution setting a date, time, and place for a public hearing on the proposed annexation of certain property by the city of Clyde, Texas, and authorizing and directing the city secretary to publish notice of the same. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council, and citizens, this resolution is to set the public hearing for next month in July for the possible annexation of approximately 314 acres of land off of FM 603, the west side of FM 603, into city limits. This is a voluntary annexation. It's being asked by the property owners, Richard LeMay. Upon annexation into the city, Richard has a subdivision planned for that 314 acres. And this will start the process to allow him to come into the city, and then as part of the annexation agreement, the city will provide the water services to the subdivision.
Council know what we're talking about there towards 603. Y'all have any questions about this and about letting Secretary Thornton start this? If not, I'd entertain a motion to to approve the resolution setting the date, time, and place for the public hearing. I have a motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilman Rector to allow you to start. All those in favor? Thank you. It passes unanimously. Moving on to 9.4, consider with possible action approving the EDC funding for downtown sidewalk repair. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council, and citizens, the EDC board, I approached the EDC board at their last meeting asking for funding for a sidewalk replacement project for Oak Street and North First Street as part of our downtown revitalization program. As a Type B EDC, this falls right in to the requirements of providing infrastructure, and it'll help revitalize the downtown area, reduce some safety deficiencies that we have, and it'll also help alleviate some of the ADA deficiencies that we have with having the sidewalks not ADA accessible. We put this out to bid a month and a half ago. We had 3 bids. The winning bid is Dutton Construction Company. So the resolution in front of you is to approve. The EDC board unanimously approved this, but because it's more than $20,000, City Council has to approve any expenditures of the EDC over $10,000. And the price tag for the project is $80,000. And the contractor will begin work immediately. And I will be coordinating, myself and Terry, with all the business owners on Oak Street and North First Street so that we sequence the construction and demolition outside of business hours so that we don't impact businesses. And the work will be completed. We've been guaranteed by the contractor that the work will be completed by the first week of October. So it'll be done well ahead of the Oktoberfest that'll be held in the downtown area.
Nice, very good. Council have any questions for Mr. McGuire? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the project and award it to Dutton Construction for the amount of $80,000.
Motion we approve it. Second.
I have a motion by Councilman McGuire, seconded by Councilman White to approve the project and award the construction contract to Dutton. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank y'all. Next up, 9.5. Consider with possible action approving the EDC purchasing property of 40 acres located at 63076 J.W. Townsend, Clyde, Texas. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, this property lies directly south of the Kevin Hagen subdivisions. We had been in talks with the property owner about gaining a potential easement to the property. We needed to cross at multiple points, water and sewer lines in the deepest manhole to not have to build a lift station for that subdivision. In multiple conversations with the property owner, he had told us that he really wasn't interested in doing an easement, but he would consider selling the property to the city. He's no longer a resident of Clyde. He's relocated to Idaho, and he's not coming back to the area. This will solve multiple problems for the city as we do the engineering to bring water and sewer into the Hagen subdivision. We lose the expense of around $125,000 to build another lift station, which from the city's public works perspective is we don't want another lift station to have to maintain. The other thing that this does, we had a bunch of citizens' input when the Hagen subdivision was first proposed, and one of the major concerns was the ingress and egress to the new subdivisions were dumping traffic through neighborhoods that the streets were narrow, and we had said that we were going to approach this property owner about the easement so that we could create a roadway where we put our utilities in, and it was going to solve multiple problems. So by buying the whole 40 acres, it now actually gives us the opportunity to create two different ingresses and egresses to this 40-acre property, and then the Hagen subdivision will tie directly into it. So now there'll be multiple surface streets that residents of that new subdivision can enter and exit their property. We got a very fair price of $10,000 an acre. Once we put roads and infrastructure in, undoubtedly the property value of that real estate will increase. And then as the EDC's board met and discussed, the EDC will hold that property for future development, and will approach builders and see if there's interest in buying out parcels of the property or the remaining acreage after infrastructure is in place. So the EDC board approved unanimously the $390,000. Again, because it's above the $10,000 threshold of any single purchase, the EDC has to come to City Council for City Council's final approval to spend the funds.
Very good. Council have any thoughts or questions for Mr. McGuire concerning EDC's request to purchase this 40 acres? It does help us a lot, helps the city side of it a lot with what we were gonna have to do anyway to get that easement. So now that makes that a lot easier, a lot better there, and still gives EDC the possibility of later even doing better work and more for the city. Council have any thoughts?
I think it's a good investment and definitely lead to future development.
Yeah.
I like that it'll tie into the 18 down there to
Two places.
alleviate
Yeah.
traffic back through.
Ties into Stevens and the 18 all the
Yeah.
way down south there after
Yeah.
the curve.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, well, if council doesn't have any other questions or comments on it, I would entertain a motion to approve the purchase, or to approve EDC's purchase of that 40-acre project.
I move that we approve for the EDC to make this purchase.
A second.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Kaufman, seconded by Councilman McGuire for the purchase, for EDC to make the purchase. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. 9.6, consider with possible action approving a resolution of the City of Clyde authorizing the purchase of property for municipal purposes and authorizing the city administrator to execute all necessary documents. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, City Council, citizens, this is the final piece of the Parks and Recreation facility that you previously approved. We have the title back. We have all the closing documents ready. And this is authorizing me as the city administrator to execute those contracts and do the closing on the Parks and Recreation facility.
Council have any questions for Mr. McGuire about that? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the resolution allowing Mr. McGuire to sign the contract.
Make a motion.
A second.
Have a motion by Councilman Rector, seconded by Councilman Martin. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you. 9.7, consider with possible action approving a resolution of the City of Clyde authorizing the deed transfer of property for municipal purposes and authorizing the city administrator to execute all necessary documents. Mr. McGuire?
So, Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, this is the deed transfer of approximately 24.7 acres of land from the Clyde Independent School District to the city of Clyde for the construction of the sports complex. This is all being done ahead of the June 24th will be the public ribbon cutting ceremony, and on July 5th, construction will begin of the sports complex.
What was the
So-
date on the ribbon cutting?
June 24th at 10 a.m. And this is the transfer of 24.17 acres into the city. And then this will become city property, and the sports park will be city property. And this is part of the joint partnership with Clyde Independent School District.
Very good. I know that our lawyers and their lawyers went back and forth, making sure that everybody was happy with that. It's gone through school board a couple of times. We've gone and met with them, so, and this is a great step. This really finishes that off and gets us, gets that there. Council have any questions or comments about that? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the resolution allowing Mr. McGuire to sign that contract.
Make a motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman White, seconded by Councilwoman Kaufman to approve the resolution. All those in favor? That passes unanimously. Thank you all. That's a great thing. At this time, we'll move to the city administrator report. Mr. McGuire?
Mr. Mayor, council, citizens, I just want to give a quick update on where we are with a number of the infrastructure projects. The Public Works building is at about 65% complete. They are on track. They are already starting all the interior work, sheetrock, the bathrooms, the tile work, and all the bathrooms were done this week. So that's progressing. The manhole project is moving along. We're at about 70% complete on that. We did uncover that there were some manholes in the city that weren't on anybody's maps. So we're adjusting. We did build a contingency into our infrastructure money specifically because we figured we were gonna run across some things that weren't on anybody's map. So Performance Service and I have worked out all the details, and all the new manholes that have been discovered will be treated for intrusion, and we'll solve all those problems as well. The SCADA system's moving along. We did find one system that wasn't accounted for in the SCADA project. That was an administrative error on Performance Services side. So when I met with them, there'll be no cost to the city to add the additional SCADA system because it was an administrative error on their end, and they'll bear that cost. The splash pad was pressure tested today and passed. Rebar and concrete work start tomorrow. Weather dependent, we'll have the inner pad poured by Friday. And then early next week will be the outer concrete ring, which they call sidewalk, which is the walk-in to the splash pad. I spoke to the project manager of the company today, and we are on track to have that open for 4th of July weekend. I know we had tried to have it open for Memorial Day weekend, but we ran into a number of delays with material. And we're seeing that across the number of projects. And then finally is what I just spoke to earlier. We are completely under contract for the sports park with Hellas Construction. The ribbon cutting ceremony will be 10 o'clock on Friday the 24th, and dirt work and excavation work begins on July 5th. And weather dependent, we're looking at a 12-month build. So without any unforeseen weather, by early summer next year, the sports park will be in complete use. We've been very successful in our campaign to attract corporate sponsors, and I can announce tonight that we signed First Bank of Texas as a corporate sponsor for one of the ball fields. They graciously contributed $127,000 to the project. We are officially under contract with Pepsi as the corporate beverage sponsor. We are getting $150,000 cash infusion to the project and a steep discount on all the Pepsi products that will be sold in the concession stands. And with sales targets that were written into the contract over 10 years, if we hit all the sales metrics, that has the ability to generate around $750,000 in revenue for the project. We also signed Kinetic by Windstream as a corporate sponsor this week as well. They will be providing roughly $3,000 a month of Wi-Fi access. 1 gigabyte of Wi-Fi will be geofenced for the entire park facility. So anybody that's at the park will have Wi-Fi access. And it includes all the fiber infrastructure and all the engineering that's done to bring in fiber into the scoreboards, the concession stands, and everything we need for point-of-sale operations. And there are three more corporate sponsors that I am working to finalize pricing and contracts on that by next city council meeting we'll be able to discuss, but we'll actually be able to announce them at the groundbreaking on the 24th. And one of them, one of these corporate sponsors is going to take naming rights to the facility, and it's a huge cash infusion to the project. So if I finalize those documents this week, then we will have Nan put it out publicly to everybody who the other sponsors are. And we are well on our goal, and we are exceeding the $1 million mark worth of corporate sponsorships that we were hoping to attract to the project. We've already exceeded that. And that wraps up my report.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. McGuire. It's great work. Great work and great news about our sports complex. I know everybody's excited about that.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you refresh my memory on what's included in the SCADA project?
It's the complete upgrade of our electronic monitoring system of the water
For the
plant,
water.
the sewer plant, the pump stations, and all the lift stations throughout the city. It becomes the smart system that will operate everything.
Okay, thank you. It just escaped my brain.
And Chris, on the pipeline from Fort Phantom here, what's the timeline on
We've
that?
submitted all our documentation back into USDA from the last city council meeting. They told us 60 to 120 days to be the final closing, and then it would go out for competitive bid. And in consultation with Ken Martin, we are aggressively pushing to have that contract bid and awarded and break ground late fall. And that has a 1 year, which will complete the pipeline as the same time the water plant upgrade to the 2 million gallons a day capacity is done at the same time. We're really pushing both sets of engineers so that we sequence this properly.
Very good, thank you.
Can you update us on the smart meter and the trash service stuff?
Yes, the poly carts, 2/3 of the poly carts have already arrived. They're in storage. The dumpsters have arrived. The roll-off trash truck is already here in the city, and we're waiting on the two garbage trucks. The front load and the side load garbage trucks should be here by mid-June, and then we will start a phase plan to phase out from Republic and for the city to take over. And the smart meter installations will start the third week, actually next week of June. They're scheduled to start. We were having some supply chain issues with brass fittings, and it just took forever to get. but all the meters are in place, and they're ready to get going, and as soon as they start that, then we will start the messaging campaign with all the citizens about how the interface works and help all the citizens set up their online access so that they can monitor their water usage and their billing in real time.
Very good. Council, have any other questions for Mr. McGuire? All right, thank you, Chris, appreciate that. At this time, the council will enter into a closed executive session to discuss the following. We will convene into closed meeting pursuant to the provisions of Chapter 551 Government Code, Vernon's Texas Codes annotated in accordance with the authority contained in to discuss personnel matters and deliberations about real property. So we will do that. Public, that is an opportunity for y'all to do one of two things. You may stick around until we get out of executive session, or you may leave at this point. That closes our public side of it. We will come back out into open session if anything is discussed, anything is decided on personnel matters or the deliberation of the real properties. And then we will also move into our financial statement, which will then wrap up our meeting. So y'all are more than welcome to stay. And if not, thank y'all for being here tonight. Appreciate it.